what I share in the book, it comes straight from North Korea, except I'm very grateful I was not raped, you know, because I would kill them. When they left the doors open, the inmates warned me. They said, if they want you to go to the washroom, don't go, because it happened to us. Don't go. If they leave the cell's doors open, they're coming. They're coming to hurt you. So brace yourself. So they did it twice. And I had a pencil with me. So I grabbed the pencil and I said, whoever comes through this door first, dies first.
Artur Pawlowski is a Calgary-based pastor who spent 51 days in jail for defying COVID-19 mandates imposed by the Alberta government, specifically by refusing to shut down his church as required by those mandates. These mandates were later ruled by a court to have been illegal from the start. Lions Do Not Bow, Mr. Pawlowski's new book, is out today and can be ordered through the link in the description of this video below. Joining me now is no other than the author of the book, Mr. Artur Pawlowski. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you so much, Mocha, for having me. I mean, I'm super excited for obvious reasons. I think this would be the first time that I can tell my whole story, not just piece here, piece there, or for the viewers to see me in the middle of the highway or being arrested again, stepping out of the plane, or me yelling and screaming. This would be the background story. This will be our story, the story of the struggle for freedom.
Well, it's a very comprehensive and extensive book, very interesting. I guess the most explosive aspect of the book is you have a picture of Crown Prosecutor Steven Johnston. This is a prosecutor who prosecuted the Coots 4, the Coots Trio, who prosecuted you, etc. And he is notorious for this prosecution, but he is very careful of not having any pictures of him. There are no photos of him online, but you're releasing this picture, this photo, in your book. Why?
Well, I think he really wanted to be part of my life. And the truth is, he has become part of my life. And I guess in a weird, crazy way, he has become the enabler, if you will, in a weird way, of enabling me to write this story. Because as you know, I'm a very busy man. I have been traveling, I have been feeding thousands of people, I have mission fields, I have worked in a number of continents. So my life has always been go, go, go. I never had time to sit down and write the story. When this man, Steven Johnston, locked me in a solitary confinement, labeling me as this terrorist, dangerous human being that cannot have any interactions with another human being in prison, that gave me the ability to reflect on my whole story and to sit down and write it. In a way, he has become the very person, the very evil that gave me this opportunity to tell my whole story. So in other words, he deserves the credit. So I'm giving him a credit for what happened here. And of course, I don't want him to be this anonymous person that no one knows how he looks like. I mean, he's a big part of my life, big part of my story, and he deserves to show his face. In the end of the day, he is a public figure. He is very proud of what he is doing. I truly believe that he believes in hunting us down like animals and treating us like terrorists. It looks like he hates freedom, he loves Marxism. And if he's so proud of what he's doing, well, I think that Albertans deserve to know who is who in the zoo, if you will.
I see. You're not worried about any legal repercussions?
Well, I just don't see any law that would prohibit me from showing people who are the judges, who are the politicians, who are the crown prosecutors. Again, Mocha, if you are proud of your work, wouldn't you want to be shown, featured? Right? So this is kind of like a documentary. I have documented my story. And because he's such a big part of that story, with my family, we decided to feature him. And if he will not like it, I guess in a free and democratic society, that's okay, right? I didn't like solitary confinement, I'll tell you that much. If you read my story, you will know. Yeah. I did not like the metal cages, Maka. I did not like being stripped naked in front of men and women. I did not like the hardship of concrete cells. I did not like to learn that because of Stephen Johnston, 5 inmates testified that the guards were giving them incentives to murder me. I did not like when Stephen Johnston multiple times lied to every single judge during the proceedings, during the bail hearings. I did not like when my wife was not even allowed to hear the proceedings because Stephen Johnston and the judge said, well, if his wife wants to hear about the outcome of the bail hearing, she can always watch CBC or Global Television or CTV. So I didn't like those moments. And if you will not like the moments when he's reading my book, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Let's agree to disagree.
I see. Well, it's a very comprehensive book, 25 chapters. Which one is your favorite one?
I don't think I have a favorite. The book was a lot bigger. You have to remember, it was 700-800 pages, but we had to trim it down thanks to the American publishers. They told me that even 500 pages, which this book is, 519 with pictures, it's a little bit big. However, I decided that people deserve to know the background story. I think it's very important for the people to know why I yelled out at those nice officers, why I called them Gestapo. Most people have no idea. It rubs them in the wrong way because somewhere deep inside, even subconsciously, they know that this word is bad. It's bad person. If you're Gestapo, you're bad. If you're Nazi, you're bad. If I call you communist, socialist, that's bad. But why? They don't know because no one is really teaching history, Mocha. So this book has a lot of history. For example, I'm telling people what Gestapo means, and it simply means political police. The past 4 years had nothing to do with keeping us safe on the streets. The past 4 years was about them doing what the politicians were telling them to do, which is hunt down any political dissident. Don't kid yourself, I have become a political dissident, an enemy of the state. Just like the Quds 4, just like the trio, just like the other thousands. I'm not the only one. There are thousands of hurting Canadians under the boots of people like Stephen Johnston, which I call them, in a way, if you will, I just call them by their proper pronouns. Gestapo, Nazi. It's all about feelings, right? It's all about proper pronouns. So in Artur Pawlowski's way, I call them by their proper pronouns. Do you know what the show trial is? I remember when we were during the bail hearing, when my wife was not allowed by the Crown prosecutor and the judge to listen, just to listen to the proceedings. I said just half a sentence. I was not even allowed to finish my sentence. I said, this is like a show trial behind the Iron Curtain, and I was cut off.
And you're saying that as someone who have experienced it growing up in Poland.
Well, but that's the thing. I did not read a book. You know, when you read the book, you will be able to say, I read a book. Mm-hmm. I did not read a book about communism, fascism. I lived under a totalitarian regime. For me, it hits deep. This is not just a movie, a Hollywood production. Oh my God, this is bad. No, this is hell. People like me, we grew up in hell when there was no law, no accountability, where few people acted like pharaohs, just like our politicians today. When you remember Adam Germain, another crooked judge in the province of Alberta, and yes, I am calling them by their proper pronouns. They're crooks, they're liars, they're deceivers, they're very wicked, evil people. When Adam Germain, that crooked judge, gave me a compelled speech order, that's straight from the Soviet Union, that's straight from North Korea, that's straight from China, where government was demanding from you to preach their gospel.
And this was about COVID-19, right? They didn't want you to speak out.
Compelled speech. The judge,
right.
can you believe it? And the whole story is here. The judge commanded me, my brother David, and Chris Scott to, every single time we speak to a reporter, to a media, to parishioners, to another human being, every single time you open your mouth, you must recite government-approved rhetorics about the pandemic, about the COVID, the shots, the masks, the whole 9 yards. And I said to the judge, I cannot do that. I'm a pastor. My job is to preach the truth. I refuse to preach your lies. I refuse. And I said, if you want to arrest me, come and get me. You know, Mocha, I have not been hiding. I am not hiding. Everyone, they know how to find me, and they did it a few times. So I resisted it, not because I am this lawbreaker, troublemaker, a person that just doesn't like authorities. Actually, Mocha, opposite. I am a law-abiding citizen. I pay taxes. I know it's a shocker. I do pay taxes, lots of money. I don't speed. I don't get tickets, except for what I do in a capacity as a pastor. So I'm doing the horrible crime of feeding the poor, so I'll get a ticket for that. I am distributing printed material, so if I'm giving Bibles away, apparently that's an offense. When I preach negative messages about some issues that we're facing right now in our society, well, that's hateful. All those different things, I will get harassment tickets and, of course, imprisonment for that. But if it comes to normal laws, not the made-up feeling laws for the crooked government and their, corrupted to the core ideologies, we are a law-abiding citizens. We follow the rules, we follow the laws. Actually, I'll take this even further, Mocha. The reason we came to Canada was for freedom, was for law and order. I grew up with my wife in a country that police officer could beat you up, torture you. I've seen it happening. And there was nothing you could do about it. People were broken arms, broken legs. There was this famous saying in Poland during that time, police officers would say, give us a man, we will find something on that man, or some kind of a law or criminal, criminal code against that man. That sounds like the past 4 years. Remember when I was being tried, first of all, I was charged by that crooked Crown prosecutor, Stephen Johnston, with terrorism for a peaceful assembly, for words when I said 3 times to the hurting Canadians, stand for God and state given rights, but do it peacefully. No guns, no swords. This is not the fight of some kind of a, physical gun-blazing uprising. It's a solidarity style. And I said it many times, and they twisted my words. I'm sitting there, and they're going line by line, digesting, if you will, my sermon. While I'm sitting there, they're fighting what I meant when I said certain words. Solidarity movement. Anyone with the right mind, anyone with brain knows it was a peaceful non-compliance general strike. When I said paralyze their system, I didn't say block the highways. Mocha, not once I said block the highways. Not once. When I came, the roads were open. When I left, the roads were open. But they twisted my words and lied about this whole situation. What I said is that there's more of us than of them. If we refuse to cooperate, if we refuse to work for them, what those wannabe tyrants are going to do. The story is actually quite simple. It's not as complicated as they are making it. Here is a guy that grew up in hell, sees hell coming back, and yells and screams, this is not the way to go. I've seen this movie before. We have to change the script. That's all, but we have to change the script peacefully. Oh yeah, I get it. Those bouncy houses, scary. Monsters. Those barbecues. The smell of those chickens and Alberta beef, the best beef. I think it was very scary for those officers and politicians. What happened to us, Mocha, should never ever happen to Canadians. We are in a big trouble. what I want, what is this book all about? It's not about poor me, look what they have done to me and my family, trying to burn us alive, trying to burn the church, vandalize our church for months, unscrewed tire in our pickup truck. I was punched, attacked, Antifa in the backyard, my family attacked. This is not about poor me, look what they have done to me. I want the people to know why. Why is this happening to us? That's the story. Lions Do Not Bow, it's telling people we have seen this movie before. We have been there before, and we're not smarter. It looks like we have not learned anything from history, so now we are repeating it in front of our eyes. And the story says, I want you to know that you can resist evil, even if you're alone, that you don't have to bow, even if it costs you. You don't have to bow before evil. You don't have to bow before evil people. You can actually stand tall in the face of a great wickedness and say, no, I will not bow. People came to me and they said, seriously, are you willing to die on this hill? And I said, if I was to die on any hill, I guess this is the hill. They've attacked my church, they have attacked my faith, they have attacked me physically, they have attacked my family, they have attacked my children. If this is not the hill, there is no any other hill to die on. This is it. Freedom of religion, freedom of expression, every freedom, medical freedom, every freedom you can think of has been taken away from us, including we were not allowed to sing. It's just, you cannot sing. You cannot have Lord's Supper. You cannot have brother for coffee. Seriously? It's my brother. We hug each other. Here we're coming to the most important question. Why? Because we were told to follow the science, Maka. We were told to follow the experts. So many people did. And some even bowed. I didn't. I'm very grateful to God that He gave me a Polish heart, a Polish spirit, a character, whatever. I'm a donkey. I'm a stubborn man. I'm a Polish stubborn donkey, which is probably a combination of all the donkeys combined together. That's how we are, Polish people are. So I'm very grateful to that. However, others were dancing around. They were trying their best, and that's all fine. But if we were told to follow the science, what was wrong with the parking sermon? Because you got to go back to history. Why, Mocha? Why they were so terrified of the church meetings? Why they canceled town hall meetings? Because they know when people come together, there is an exchange of information. When people come together, hope kicks in. And during this time, we saw it clearly that the only hope that was allowed in the land was the one that they were feeding you. The government, the pharaoh, the boss, the final authority above the living God, that's us. We can do whatever we want. One law for me, another for thee. I can party in a sky palace like the premier of Alberta with ministers, yet we got picked up in the middle of the highway by anti-terrorists and SWAT team, charged with crazy insanity, inciting people to come to church, officiating in illegal gathering, participating in illegal gathering. Just shocker. And yet, those people did all of that. But they were untouchable, because here is why. They are creating two categories of people. Them, the elites, the globalists, those that will own everything, and those that are telling you, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Why? Because they're accumulating what they have been stealing and are stealing from you. Town hall meetings, church meetings are a power horse, was giving people hope, was letting people know I'm not alone. You know the worst thing that can happen to a man? I tell you, I experienced that in solitary confinement, is when you're alone, just by yourself and your thoughts.
And that's what the government was ordering people to stay isolated.
That's exactly what they were commanding us to do, because when you're isolated, separated, segregated, you feel hopeless. This book is not a book, like I said at the beginning, of look, poor guy, what the crazy things they have done to him. No, this book is about hope. that if one man with a broken English, if one Artur Pawlowski, an immigrant to this country, can do it, you know, Mocha, that means you can do it as well. That means anyone can. Listen, if I can do it, everyone can. Everyone can. I'm not your best in a tool shed, if you will. I'm not the most educated. I'm sure I'm not the smartest out there. But I know someone that is. And I read the book, and I know how the story ends, and I'm just following the script. I'm just following the instructions in that book called the Holy Word of God, the Bible. And it says, if you follow my instructions, you will do fine. And that's exactly what I did. I just simply did my best to follow his instructions. And instructions were very clear. Do not forsake the gatherings of the saints. Why? Because I want you to come together and feel strong, help each other. In a time of crisis, so let's say this was truly a time of the greatest crisis we have ever seen, then we need each other now more than ever.
Right.
Family, communities, feeding each other, helping each other. People lost jobs, businesses. In the city of Calgary, we were losing 12 to 15 businesses a day. People were desperate. You know how many people commit suicide?
So many.
Many, many. We actually have the biggest amount of suicides ever recorded in this country. Then people turn to alcohol because of depression, lack of hope. Then they turn to drugs. Many are already dead. We're talking about all the whys, why the government was doing it, because the government was turning society and was demanding that the society views them as gods. Therefore, the real God had to be removed, and those that preach about the real God, those Artur Pawlowskis that say, hey, we've seen plagues before, we've seen crises and wars before, and we did okay. As long as we stuck together, as long as we helped each other, we will do fine. And the government outlawed that. Because you have to always, Mocha, go back to why. When you know the why, you will know the whole movie, you will know the whole picture. So I'm connecting the dots, I'm trying to do my best to tell people why, what we have seen before historically, and then I'm narrating my story, I'm giving them the background of the Get Out video, I'm giving them a little bit about the tour, why the government was so scared, why Artur Pawlowski was arrested on the tarmac, stepping out of the plane. It didn't make any sense. You know the charges were withdrawn later? It didn't make any sense. There was no need for the dramatic, for theatrical. There was no need. They could phone my lawyers and said, there's a warrant for your client's arrest. Can he turn himself in? Right. The drama will be over. Every single arrest they did it for theatrical purposes. They did it because they were sending a message to you. Don't you dare, because you don't want to be another Artur Pawlowski.
To that point, you ask a question in the book. You say, have you ever noticed? And I quote, have you ever noticed that the enemy attacks in waves, combining attacks of discouragement, fear, confusion, and hopelessness? Even when I talk with the inmates, they testify to the same thing. The attacks came like a flood, and if you fell for that, they lasted much longer. But if you resisted, they disappeared pretty quickly. In your experience, what qualities should a person cultivate to remain rock solid while facing an enormous adversary?
Well, you have to believe in someone that is bigger than you. Because in the end of the day, as much as I would like to see myself as this tough, strong hero, the truth is I'm no different than you. I'm weak at times. I shed tears at times. I feel pain at times, and I felt a lot of pain, especially with my concrete treatment, metal cages, and just overall hopelessness and fear that they will truly try to hurt me physically, especially when I learned when the inmates were coming to me and saying the guards are giving us stuff to murder you, to break you, to really hurt you. When the Crown Prosecutor Stephen Johnston said to my lawyers that he intends to keep me there in those crazy conditions for 2 years. You suddenly sit over there, and you gotta remember, they treated me with a special attention. I would spend sometimes 26 hours in a solitary, in a cage, without ability to come out. I was treated in such a way that I was told I am considered the most dangerous inmate in the country, so I have to stay in isolation. So there was this narration, I'm super dangerous, you know, and all those different things, and I need to hurt because I'm such a horrible person, and I deserve this treatment. So when you are facing an enemy that is so much more powerful than you, physically, when they actually hurt you, because there's more of them. I mean, maybe I would be able to defend myself from one or two, but they have 100 of them. They have tasers. They've got guns. They can really do harm. When you're facing enemy that is so much bigger than you, you have to turn into something that is bigger than you. So here's what I did. And I had my moments that I said, God, I don't think you have the right man. I don't think I can do this. I am hurting. I want to go home. I want to go to my family. I don't want to be murdered in Remand Center, Calgary, or Edmonton, or on the way to Red Deer as I was taken, kidnapped by sheriffs, shackled in a cage. I was transferred in a cage like a dog. I don't want to die. I don't want the story of Artur Pawlowski to end. He died in a cage like a dog. So I had to remind myself that God is bigger than all of my enemies combined together. I had to remind myself that I have a loving family. As you know, they staged protests outside of Remand every single day. This was the longest protest in the history of the prison system in Canada. It's in a book. Every day I was on the inside, the church was on the outside. So I saw them through little slivers of windows because they moved me to another wing. And I had to constantly remind myself that this fight is not now about Artur Pawlowski anymore, that this fight is a lot bigger. It has become a lot bigger, that I have become a symbol in so many hearts, that they want me. You gotta remember, I had offered to sign the paper and I would be able to go home. And that's very tempting when you're hurting. And they rely on this, they rely on your hurt. When you're hurting, you don't think straight. You just think about, I want this to stop. I want this hurt to stop. And I was hurting physically. They kept me in hard places for so long. They messed up my back to a point that I was in a constant 24 hours in constant pain. My chiropractor, when he saw my back, and I was on house arrest, as you remember, he had to come to my home. He says, I've never seen more messed up back than this one. He showed it to my wife. It was all crooked, twisted. It was bad. So when you're hurting, you have to turn into something bigger, that there is a purpose for this hurting. You're doing it for your God. You're doing this for your family. I got 3 children. And when I look at the kids, I'm thinking, what kind of a future they're going to have if Artur Pawlowskis of today will not stand up, if mockers will not defy the wishes of a corrupted mayors, for example, as you know, or premiers or prime minister. What if the mockers will be eliminated, the mockers and Pawlowskis of today? What kind of a future our children are going to have? That's what the story is all about. Hey, we must resist. If you don't want to do it for yourself, you must do it for your children and their children. I'll never forget the phone call with my wife, and I said, I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm really hurting. And she said, Art, this is a lot bigger than you now. A lot bigger than you. Hold on, have faith.
You have become a symbol. If you were to fail, it would have been a big blow to the community.
It will be, what they wanted was a very simple statement, Artur Pawlowski pleads guilty. That's the only thing they wanted. And I could go home. Artur Pawlowski pleads guilty. See, we told you he's a criminal. We've told you he's a wicked man. We've told you, he says it with his own words that he did something evil. Well, that's a few years later. You know how many times, hundreds, if not thousands of times, I look into the camera and I said, this was the proudest moment in my life. I regret nothing. I'm super proud that I was part of the Freedom Convoy. The only thing that I regret is that I didn't spend more time with the truckers and the farmers than I did.
That was my next question about regret. If you regretted anything during your 51-day-long captivity?
No, I regret nothing. I did what I could. I preached the gospel. I ministered to not only to the inmates, but also to the guards. I kept my cell spotless. It was a testimony. And it was funny things happened out of this because the guards were coming to see my cell. It was like beautiful. I washed it, I cleaned it. Everything was like in a book store, had a place. And they would come and comment, wow, we've never seen a cell like this before. Everything was clean. Because you see, I have a clean heart. I have a clean mind. And I wanted them to see that I'm not a dog. They wanted me to act like dog. They were treating me like a dog. But I'm a son of the living God. So I don't regret anything. If I was to do it again, I would do it more, not less. I would do more, not less. And I said that to the crown. I said that to the judges. I am saying this to the whole world. Good men, if you are a good man should never bow before evil men. That's why the title of the book is so simple. Because when I was in Africa, and by the way, if you're curious, if you're interested, why? I'm a very privileged man. Not only I have an amazing family, beautiful children and wife, and great community church, courageous brother David that fought for my life as well, but I also have been privileged to travel around the world, and I worked in Africa. We started orphanages and medical clinics and churches in Kenya and in the city of Barack Obama's birth, by the way, okay, Kisumu, on a side note. But every time I was able to go there, I also went on a savanna and I was able to observe lions. And I'm telling you, I think what I saw changed my life. Because the moment lions show up, it's a spiritual thing. The birds stop chirping. The monkeys stop playing. The zebras take notice. Their ears go up. Like the whole nature notices. Oh, the lions showed up. And you know how they walk? Have you ever seen in a savanna a lion walk? Is the most majestic thing I have ever seen. They do it, they are beasts, they're huge animals, huge. And yet they walk in such a gentleness, majesty. It's like the moment you see a lion, he says, by the way he acts, his head high, he says, the king has arrived. I own this place. You know what I mean? This is all mine. I am the king. And the king has showed up. And nature notices. I looked at the lionesses, how graceful they are, how majestic and beautiful and strong and powerful. When they would lay down, everyone around knows. Oh, we gotta, be careful. The lions are near. And the ugly voice of the hyenas, the hate between the hyenas and the lions. And that's why I said so many times, lions do not bow before the hyenas. Because the hyenas are like wolves in a way. They are like liberals and the NDPers. They attack you in pact. They have no honor, no loyalty. They're evil, wicked people, just like the hyenas. And a lion can be overpowered by 20, 30 hyenas. But when you see another lion coming to the rescue, to help, two lions can overpower 20, 30 hyenas in a heartbeat, no problem. Just takes 2 lions against 30 hyenas, and no problem. When I observe all of that, when I observe them hunting and strategizing and this amazing thing, God spoke to me. He said, I want you to act just like lions. Know who you are. First of all, you need to know who your God is, how amazing, beautiful, loving, compassionate, mighty God is. And also you have to know who you are in God. You're a child of the living God. You're not a dog. That's why I write this story when they kept me in metal cages and I yelled at the guards. I yelled at them. And I said, I'm not your dog. You cannot keep me in metal cages. I'm not your dog. And you know what happened? They got offended. And they turned to me and says, you're not allowed to yell at us. And I said, you're not allowed to keep me in metal cages. And they left. And the nurses would come and check if I'm still alive. I mean, crazy stuff. What I share in the book, it comes straight from North Korea, except I'm very grateful I was not raped, because I would kill them. If they would try to rape me, which some inmates were suggesting that this, be careful, especially when you're in a shower. I mean, that's crazy stuff. Even when I say it right now, that's insane. It's a Hollywood movie. But I said to God, I will endure everything, but if this happens, I want you to know, they will not walk out of this encounter alive. So it's up to you. So I'm very grateful. They never tried to physically beat me up. Yeah, they kept me in solitary. They kept me in metal cages. They kept me in the cages when they transferred me. I was shackled. Those things do happen. I was stripped naked. But they did not cross that other line with, beating me. And they knew, I think, what they saw in my eyes. Twice they left my cell open. And inmates were telling me, I was very popular, Mokai. I was so popular in prison that 21 days in my solitary confinement, they sent a petition to the director, Fader. Oh. And they said, if you don't let him out, you'll have a riot.
Because you were preaching to them.
I was preaching through the doors. I had inmates every single day, 10, 20 times a day, different inmates coming through the door to listen to my mini sermons. I pray with them, I cry with them, I counsel them. So I was so popular that when I was being transferred from my solitary cell with bed and washroom, water, to a concrete cell, the inmates were banging on the doors. Free Pastor Art, free Pastor Art, free Pastor Art. It was like the Gladiator movie. General, it felt awesome. It felt amazing. I led them to the Lord. I cried with them. They came to my cells crying. Muslims came to me, asked me to cast out demons out of their cells. They said, we're a pastor. We know God is with you. Would you pray and cast out demons because we're tormented? So I would go to their cells. I would cast out demons. The next day they would come and said, for the first time, we slept like babies. I led church services after they sent the petition. I was let out to have an interaction with them for 1 hour a day. We had Bible studies. It was beautiful. It was amazing. In the middle of this hell, this hardship, there was this light. Right. This sliver of light was always there. And when they left the doors open, the inmates warned me. They said, if they want you to go to the washroom, don't go. Because it happened to us. Don't go. If they leave the cell's doors open, they're coming. They're coming to hurt you. So brace yourself. So they did it twice. And I had a pencil with me. So I grabbed the pencil and I said, whoever comes through this door first, dies first. That's it. I mean, you got to remember, this was something I never experienced in my life. I watched those things when I was growing up as a kid, but we left Poland when I was 17, so I was never imprisoned in Poland. I've seen abuse, I've heard about abuse, but never happened to me physically. It was a whole country was enslaved. But now this is happening to me, Soviet style. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. I never learned about this, in a theological school of any sort. So a guard peeks through the door and he sees me ready, like I'm ready. And he got scared. So whatever they were cooking, whatever they were planning, they saw something in my eyes and they decided this is going to be a bloody mess. And they didn't do it, and I'm very grateful. Mocha, I never want to hurt. Even I don't hate my enemies. I don't want them to be hurt. I just want to be left alone. And I think if I would defend myself and something will happen, I think I would regret that this ever happened. Because in the end of the day, I pity my enemies. I don't hate my enemies. I don't hate Justin Trudeau. I pity him. I don't hate those officers, what they did to me. They cut you can still see the scars. They handcuffed me in such a brutal way, you see?
I see it, yeah.
Yeah, they cut my skin all around it. I had cut skin like with a knife for over a month. And of course, when I was booked, I said to the nurse, I want pictures because I'm going to sue you all for what you have done to me. And they refused.
And you're suing them now?
I am suing them, and they refused to take pictures. They broke every law that there is in a book with me and my family. That's why here's a funny story, part of the story. I'm not just suing them. It's not about money. If I wanted money, they offered me $2 million to shut my mouth. You know that. They offered me guaranteed seat. And by the way, this is in the book. The political fixers are in the book. The attempted bribery by the Premier of Alberta, it's in the book.
It's a very comprehensive, very good book.
It's a story. I'm just telling you my story. Believe it or not. In the end of it, I don't care. This is what happened to me. And my story, Mocha, is a widely documented story. This is not like I woke up one day and said, let's write a fiction. The arrests were filmed. What they did to me was on camera. What they did to me in prison, Edmonton, Red Deer, Edmonton, it's all on camera. It's a public document. When they locked me in a psych ward, you want to know what happened in a psych ward? It's in a book, day by day. It's all documented. I didn't know. I was learning as I go. When the doctor came to me, I think it was the second day in a psych ward, he said, Mr. Pawlowski, what are you doing here? He's asking me. I'm locked like an animal with crazy people jumping up and down and walking in a circle. And he's asking me, what are you doing here? I said, well, that's a good question. They came to me, I was shackled, kidnapped, and I'm here.
Right.
He says, you're not allowed to be here. They are breaking the law. This is illegal. You cannot be put in a psych ward without the evaluation of the doctors. Right. This is Soviet style dealing with political dissidents. 2.0. You're not allowed to be here. And I said, well, thank you so much for your consideration. And he says, oh, no. This is not about you. We are afraid that the sane person, when the same person is locked with insane people, you can take advantage over them. In other words, when people are crazy around you and you're not, you can maybe benefit somehow from this. So they're protecting insane people. You only end up there if the doctors are rendering, you need to be there. That's the story. This is insanity. When they kept me in MaxPod, as you remember, freezing conditions, minus 28 outside, I'm shivering. I received, it's in a book actually, if you look, I have included this because it's such a crazy story. I knew people will have a hard time to believe it. This is a document here that I received the same day I was locked in MaxPod. MaxPod, and by the way, this is the book, this is my manuscript. I wrote the book on the pieces of government prison request forms that were given to me by inmates, because those devils would not give me paper because they knew I'm going to document everything I'm writing. This book, this Lions Do Not Bow, has been confiscated by the Canadian government 3 times already. That's how dangerous it is. But here is a document that states, basically, I am super dangerous for the staff and the facility, and I have to be in isolation, no human contact, indefinitely.
So they took away the captive audience from you.
Exactly, they got scared. Because you see, think about it, Mocha. What was this whole thing about? You see, we did a nice circle.
Yeah.
It was our hopelessness. You have to be without hope. What I was doing in jail?
You were spreading hope.
I was giving people hope left and right. I was telling them this shall pass as well. I've seen this before. Every totalitarian regime collapses. It's just a matter of time. Yes, many people hurt. In the meantime, many die. But eventually, truth wins. That's the message. It's so simple. So I had, Mocha, every single inmate in my Bible study and church service. Every single inmate. I think I broke some kind of a records in prison, because sometimes you have some that are interested. I had every single inmate at my church services. Muslims, drug dealers, drug traffickers, human traffickers, bank robbers, crazy, gun for hire, that came to me and says, I've killed many people. Will God ever forgive me? A gun for hire. They all were sitting at the tables, some on top of the tables, listening to the stories from the Bible, and me teaching them about God, that with God there is a second chance if you want it. So they were observing this. And you're right, they didn't like it. They did not like few things. That was so popular that the church, my wife, my family was outside, 4 huge speakers blasting church services every single day. What they didn't like also, they were messing with my phone privileges, because I would do press conferences or press releases, political statements. I even preached in my church from prison. 3 or 4 times I preached from prison to the church live. So once or twice I called, and they were on the outside, and my wife put me with a phone on the speaker, on the microphone. So I was preaching to the Freedom Convoy people outside with big rigs and trucks and, church and others. That frustrated them so much that they yelled at the people, and they actually beat up one of the prisoners, because when they started to mess with my phone privileges, the inmates, I was so popular, Mocha, I think people have never seen something like this before. As I was let out of my isolation, the first thing I did, I would go to the phone. But you see, we only had 4 phones in the entire unit, and was always taken. When I walked in, you know what happened? They would hang up their conversation, and they would hang me the phone. So what the guards did, they started to mess with my phone privileges. So what the inmates did, they would dial, because it's voice activated, they would dial on their ORCA numbers. ORCA number is a prisoner number. You have to activate your phone by a specific number and voice activation. So they would call my wife on their ORCA number and their voice activated telephone, and they would hang me the phone. Wow. It was crazy. They were freaking out. Then they beat up some of the inmates for helping me this way, and that's how it was. So eventually they realized I'm just too popular. No one will touch me. Actually, the inmates said, when I was being taken to the solitary confinement on concrete from my solitary confinement, regular cell, and they said, anything happens to this man. The inmates were telling them, to guards, anything happens to this man, watch your back. Even one hair falls from his head, watch your back. That's a crazy stuff. Because you gotta remember, the guards know those are not your ordinary people. Those are very serious gang members. I sat with gang members, tattoos slashed. They will hurt you.
I was not able to finish the book all the way to the end, but it is very comprehensive, wonderful book. But tell me, at the end, do you win?
I think I've already won. You see, I'm sitting here with Mocha here telling about the book. Mocha, I would never have time to write it. That's a victory on its own, in a way. Yes, I'm not denying that it came through pain and tears and difficulties, but nevertheless, touch it. It's real. You see? It's
and you wrote it while you were in...
And it's a 500 pages, and it has pictures with our best friend, I guess, Stephen Johnston. And it tells you, Christmas festival that I received 15 COVID tickets for. It shows us walking out of the court. This is a whole... you see those people here?
Yeah.
Those are the people that were there every single day, fighting for my life. When I was on the inside, this was on the outside. It's incredible stuff. You see Rob, our worshiper, confronting high-ranking guard. They were telling them, you're going to be all arrested. And some were arrested for opposing, for protesting. You see, I would never meet with those people. That's the General Flynn and his wife in Mar-a-Lago. In Trump's house. In Trump's house. I would never be invited there. So in a way, the Bible says what enemy meant for evil, God turned around for good. Here is Jericho March outside. So I'm right there, locked, And those people here, they came with shofars, walking around, praying, something that you never see. This is the Quds. This is what imprisoned me. I got criminal charges, interfering with the crucial infrastructure under the Defense Act. I was charged with inciting mischief, 10 years of imprisonment. Here is my brother David arrested. This is me outside the house. Remember, I was arrested by every force in the land. I was arrested by anti-terrorists, special SWAT team with cameras. I was arrested by undercover police,
You were
uniform.
arrested like a dozen times.
16, and many times I was detained, which is technically arrest. So those things, you know, prayer outside Riemann when we got arrested, when my brother David. This is by Adam Germain, when he gave us the compelled speech order. So here is with Ohio State representatives that put Canada on the watch list for a country that persecutes Christians. Right. We got invited, remember? Yeah. We got standing ovation. So here in Canada, those wicked, corrupted to the core politicians are giving standing ovation to the Nazis. Right. In America, they're giving standing ovations to those that fight Nazis. Stephen Johnston, truck convoy. Here is me. You can see it if you come close. It's me in prison. And then, you know, I would never be able to meet the most, in my opinion, beautiful human beings if it was not for this attack. That doesn't mean what those crooked people did was not wrong, but in a way, it's a victory on itself. We have won. We are sitting here and talking. There is something tangible that I can give it, pass it on to the next generation. I'm suing them. We are alleging conspiracy to commit crime, not just money. They committed crime. They conspired criminally against me and my family. So through the civil proceedings, as you know, that will give us enormous opportunity to dig, to look under the rocks, to see all the scorpions and snakes like Stephen Johnston. We want the communication. We want the emails. We want the text, the memos. Why? Who sent you? Who was in charge? All of this lawsuit will give us this, and maybe another book will come out of it, because you know Mocha, you know me. I will not bow before their blackmail, coercion, or bribery. I'm not for sale. Artur Pawlowski is not for sale. I have been already bought by the precious blood of Jesus. My family is not for sale. My children are not for sale for trinkets. Can you believe it? How dare they? They come to my home, conservative government, and they're saying that they're thinking that I can sell the future of my children for a stupid government job. $250,000. Seriously? My children are worth everything. You can put $1 billion on the table. It means nothing. It's just numbers. My children are way more valuable than $1 billion. And you're telling me that if I shut my mouth and stop exposing you crooked politicians, and I will accept a seat at the legislature so I can become your puppet? So you can move me as you please to shut me up because I want to be a politician? I hate politics. I only got engaged in politics because I don't see another way out of this pickle. We must engage. We must replace them. Who's going to replace them? If we don't run, so I'm running. I'm going to be running. Again, because I just don't see those people changing, Mocha. They need to be changed, removed. They're not changing. The con artists, they're giving you lots of good talk, but then they do the opposite. Mm-hmm. So there is a famous phone call, as you remember, with the premier. Premier called me, and the phone call is here. I'm explaining the phone call. I want the people to know the whole truth and make your own decision. I guess that's your job too. Mm-hmm. You're giving people what you have found out, and you're leaving the public to make their own decision. And is that not what democracy is supposed to be all about?
Yeah. Yeah.
People making their own choices, right, and decisions. So I'm super happy about the book because the Canadian government is doing everything in their power to stop from coming in. My 250 copies for the church were stopped.
I'm pretty sure Stephen Johnston is not going to be happy.
Well, he may not be happy. I was not happy, so I guess When I was treated like an animal, I was not happy. Now he's treated like a human being. I'm just telling people that he has become a very big part of my life, and it was thanks to him that I was able to pin it down. And people need to know how he looks and what he did. I'm sure he's not ashamed of what he did, so he shouldn't be ashamed showing his picture. I don't hide my picture.
Well,
My book has become, in a pre-order stage, 5 times bestseller. So in Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, in a pre-sale, including yesterday, I was #1 in the new bestseller new release. So it's quite fascinating that no matter what the enemy is trying to do to muzzle me up and shut me up, God amplifies and allows me to share my story with the people. And of course, you're a big part of the story, because thanks to you now people would be able to be stirred at least a little bit into, hey, maybe I would like to buy this book and gift it to Stephen Johnston. I think he deserves a copy. He's a big part of the book. Or how about police officers? I think every one of them should read the story. Judges, media personalities. How about Christmas is coming? You can give this book to your loved ones, but give it to your neighbor that hates you. Perhaps that neighbor will change his or her mind. You're receiving a good book. And it's a good sized book. You know, I wanted this book not to be a cheap diary. It's hard cover. It has colored pictures, as I showed you. Here's Nathaniel. Remember Nathaniel? Yeah. When I was on house arrest, Nathaniel testified before the European Parliament, and because of it was detained 5 times already. Here is Trump's family, which I was blessed to see. Here is that famous press conference at the legislature that you attended. And you know what? All the media showed up, but really they were not interested in the truth. No. They were just interested in
sound bites,
in their narration of the so-called truth. They didn't care really what was going on, and that's okay. In the Bible it says the liars will not inherit the kingdom of God. So let them stick with the lie if that's what they want. I want to stick with the truth. This book is what happened to me and my family, to our church, and is the truth. Take it or leave it.
One final question. Will you be releasing an audio version of your book where you narrated yourself?
Yes, I was asked multiple times. People want me to read it. And my first reaction was like, oh my God, my broken English. It's going to be funny. But they said, no, that's exactly what we want. We want your accent. Mm-hmm. We want your English. It will make this whole thing even more alive when you read it. So yes, actually, today I'm making a plan, so finding someone, a studio, that I can read the book to the microphone and give it to people, maybe with some nice background music here and there. I don't know, I've never done it. It's going to be released in electronic version as well for the people that like computers and their iPads, and they like to read it like this, like my daughter. She loves to read books in paper, but also on the computer. And what's from here, I think that we have to keep doing what we have been doing for the past 150 years. So it feels like it. It feels like I'm fighting those people for a very long time. And never bow, never quit. You know, we have the saying at Street Church, which we still do. We feed thousands of people. We never stopped. I still pastor 2 churches. I still travel around sharing my story. But we have the saying, winners never quit, quitters never win. So like I said, I have already won. We're still here. We're still doing the same thing. We're still telling people the truth that will set the captives free. And the book, in a way, enlarges our territory, enlarges the story. When I do podcasts, usually, sometimes I would even have 3 hours. There's no way, Mark, I can finish. The story is so complex, so many twists. People ask me, Can you tell me about this arrest? Can you tell me about arrest? Like which one? There's so many. Can you tell me about this court? Which one? Over 120 court cases, including courts of appeal. Can you tell me about the citations? Which one? Over 350 tickets. Pick which one, because sometimes my lawyers get confused. There's so many arrests. Arrests about my pastors, associate pastor, my son, my brother, which was arrested with me 12 times. This is crazy story. Attacks on my life, assassination attempts, which one? There's multiple. Travel, I have been on a speaking tour many times. Which one? Be more specific. Meetings with politicians, doing my best to tell them, please leave me alone. I don't want to fight you. I'm not against you. I'm against corruption and evil. So stop being evil and stop being corrupted and let me do my job, saving lives. I was just on a Hollywood Zoom, believe it or not, and they want to make a movie based on the book.
Excellent.
So this is coming. Book has not been yet released, and there's already talk about making a movie about my life. So I guess we'll keep plowing, keep fighting. The lawsuit is going. We're going to appeal the decision in the Supreme Court of Canada, and that will give even more exposure. And in the end of the day, Mocha, not only we have won, we will keep winning. Because in the end of the day, truth is like a pillar. It doesn't need any support. It stands on its own. But it's the lie. And they have been building the lie. It's like a house of cards. Lie on top of another lie. Misinformation, manipulation. On top of another lie. And their house of cards is falling apart. The only thing we need to do is keep preaching the truth. They are like this monster that eats its own tail. Eventually they will devour themselves. That's what you see in America right now. I don't know if you're watching the afterwards of American election. It's hilarious. It's amazing. It's like you just watch the news as a hobby now with your ice cream eating. It's like this is a comedy now. All those people freaking out and terrified. They're terrified that the truth will come out. I think the government that is blocking my book from coming, and by the way, you can give them a bloody nose by purchasing the book and get few copies and give it to others. And like I said, Mocha, if you will somehow let me know that you got inspired or touched by watching this, I'm going to give a big cut to Mocha, because I believe that independent journalists, which in my opinion, Mocha is probably the most unique person that still understands the concept. I truly believe that. I think you understand the concept of independent news, which you will poke at anyone. If you find the truth, you want to go to the bottom of things. And I like that. And what did I say to you at the very beginning? You can ask me anything, controversy or not. You can accuse me of anything, but at least give me a chance to respond, to defend myself.
Of course.
Right? That's a real journalism.
Yes.
That's the real deal, in my opinion. Not going to bed with this politician or that politician, but reporting.
Right.
On the good, bad, and the ugly, as I call it. So like I said, if you are touched by this interview and you want to get the copy, please let me know. I'm going to send a nice check to Mocha to support his independent journalism, because I believe that people like him should be supported. If people like Mocha disappear, we are only going to have corrupted media either on this side or on that side, and we don't want that.
I appreciate that very much, Pastor Artur. Thank you so much. And people who want to help your fight, they can go purchase the book, and they can do so by clicking the link in the description. That way I can keep track also who is buying through this interview. But thank you very much for your support, Pastor Artur, and amazing book. I wish you the best.
I want to end with this. With my family, we have decided that every proceed of the book is going back to feed the poor. So we're not going to enrich ourselves and buy palaces and private jets. You know, I have been accused of everything, as you can imagine. We have decided that this is a story not just of Artur Pawlowski and Pawlowski family, this is a story of our church. This is not just one family that fought. This is thousands, tens of thousands of people that fought for freedom, for truth. And we have decided that every dollar that will come after all the expenses and the printing, you know, and the publishing and all of those different things are going back to the community to save lives.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Artur Pawlowski.
Thank you.
Lions Do Not Bow. Mr. Pawlowski's new book is out today and can be ordered through the link in the description of this video below.